This is a collection of videos from my first week of teaching fully on my own. These clips show that even though I'm in the first stages of my student teaching, I am already aware of areas that need improvement, especially in how I present myself as a teacher. In addition, this video showcases my consideration of the different levels of students that I interact with on a daily basis, and also how I differentiate to help them learn and succeed. Let's get started. Starting an entire new unit, all new topic, we're switching off from a fellow, we're going somewhere new. And I get to drive the ship now, so we're going to have a lot of fun. There'll be a lot of reading, a lot of writing, a lot of discussing, and we're also going to be playing poker. Alright? These are the cards. You're playing poker. You'll be playing poker against each other, but also against me. Okay? I am the dealer of sorts, and each time, the way you get cards is by participating in class. If you bring up a point of discussion, and it's thoughtful, and it's not just something silly, you get a card. And a full hand in poker is 5 cards, right? So you gotta get your 5 cards. No.
What's that poker we're playing here?
This is what I'm discussing right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So each time you participate, you get a card. And I also believe in silent participants. You may just sit here and listen. You're still participating. So every time you come into class, there's going to be a card. Alright, so there's some great things here in terms of having good energy as I introduce a new unit and a new topic. But in doing so, I said that we're going to do a lot of reading and a lot of writing and a lot of talking, and my students probably heard that and freaked out and said, no, we're not doing that. Not the best way to start off a unit. But I was nervous, and that's just sort of how it came out. I've since then backed off of doing that. My students are also talking in the back and mumbling as I'm talking. I didn't correct that, and I should have. I have gotten better with that, though. I said the comment about steering the ship. Probably not the best thing to say. I meant it to be lighthearted, but at the same time, it could come off as authoritative. I also cut off a student right here. No. I just said no, and again, that's sort of coming across as overbearing and authoritative. Shouldn't do that. And finally, I talk a little fast here. It was my first day. I was nervous, and since then I have slowed down, but I really should have slowed down a lot here. Alright, so that's our first truth thing. The next truth thing, these things, we're working a lot with writer's notebooks. I don't know if you guys have ever used it in other classes. It's kind of like a journal, but not quite.
I'm allergic to these things.
You guys want to pay attention? You have a question over there? You have a question? Okay. So, writer's notebooks. What I want you to do right now, get out a pencil or pen or something, and put your name on the inside cover. As the lesson went on, I improved on some of the things that I talked about from earlier. One of the main things about this particular lesson was introducing new concepts like the writer's notebook, things I'll be doing in my unit. It's important for me to speak slowly and clearly so my students can understand the first time and follow along. I also just now, right here, I recommend the students for talking. And I did it in a way that didn't really interrupt instruction that much, just asking them if they had a question. It didn't come off as authoritative, and they got the message, which is always good. A little later on in the lesson, I discussed possible answers to the question, what does romantic mean to you? Here you will see me making some good instructional decisions, as well as continuing some good behaviors from earlier on in the lesson. You can also respond with the modern day romance, which is what a lot of us were doing. And it's actually probably one of the first things that comes to mind when you think of romantic. Pretty simple. You have a hero and a heroine, the male and female protagonist, and this revolves around, the entire book is devoted to these two people and how they fall romantically in love with each other and build a relationship together. The main climax of the book, all those big plot points are usually centered around these two people. And they usually fall in love at the beginning, so the whole book is devoted to those two schmoozing with each other. Okay, so there are two things that I do here that I think are really good. Number one, I am continuing the slow talking. I'm no longer talking a mile a minute like I was at the beginning of the lesson. This is good because it allows me to speak clearly for my students. They can understand what I'm telling them. I don't have to tell them again. Number two, I'm walking around the room, and I think this obviously it gets me from out of the front of the room and out there with the students, which puts me in proximity with them. And it also, I think, engages the students a little more because they're seeing me move. It's action. There's stuff going on. They're not just staring at one person standing in the same spot in the front of the room. And it allows me to circulate and prevent any classroom management issues as well from happening due to that proximity. But mostly I like this because I do feel that it engages students more so than just someone standing up at the front of the room and delivering a lecture on a modern day romance. After reflecting upon the first day of my unit and considering the things I did well and not so well, I made a conscious effort to improve in the areas where I was lacking. What you'll see now is a lesson about a week later. Here I'm giving instructions, and you'll notice that I speak slower and more clearly, explain myself better, and appear more relaxed and less nervous.
Today is day one of our British Romanticism and Context presentations. There's a few things I need to tell you about before we get started with those. We're going to go, the order is going to be the order in that sidebar. So it's going to be French Revolution, Industrial Revolution, First Generation Romantics, Second Generation Romantics, and Romantic Ideals. In second period, we got through Second Generation Romantics. So if you are in that group, just be on deck, ready to go. I know you weren't really planned to go, but you're set. So you'll probably go today. The next thing, I'm going to give you these things. They're called 3-2-1s. Something new that I'm trying out. Basically, what it is, the action right here. After each presentation, you're going to sort of evaluate it. You're going to, beside the three, what I'm hoping is that in the future, for the next couple weeks, when I say, all right, let's do a 3-2-1, you'll notice to put 3-2-1, and you'll understand, be able to do it like in your notebooks. But today I wrote it out for you. Beside the three, you're going to list 3 new things you learned from the presentation. Could be anything. You can just do bullets. Beside the 2, you're going to do 2 key concepts or ideas for the presentation that you think are incredibly important to British Romanticism. And then finally, you're going to put 1 question that you have. Now, I'd like for it to be a question about the topic, but if you can't think of a question about the topic, it needs to be some kind of question. It can be from a different topic, it can be whatever. I'd like for it to be relevant though. Any questions about these?
Okay, now we're going to switch gears to the dual enrollment class that I co-teach with my CT. Now, these students are expected to be sophomores in college. However, developmentally, they're still seniors in high school. So it's a very interesting balancing act we have to do between their supposed sophomore level status and yet they're being seniors in high school. So it makes differentiation comes into play a lot here. What you're about to see is a clip of me reading Robert Burns's To a Louse out loud. Now, the Scottish dialect is really difficult to get sometimes, even for sophomores in college. So I knew it would be for these seniors. So I did a read aloud and walked the students through the poem. That's what you'll notice here. And by walking them through, I'm asking them questions about the poem and engaging them with it. And they responded very well to this. And they said that it did, in fact, help them understand it a whole lot better.
Oh, Johnny, dinna toss your head and set your beauties abread. Ye little ken what cursed speed the blast is mackin'. Their winks and finger ends I dread or notice taken. Oh, what some power the gifted yes to see ourselves as Elysius. If what frame money a blunder free us and foolish notion, what hours and dress and gait, what lias, and even devotion. Did it make more sense? Or did it just confuse you more?
I was impressed with these.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, Lord. Okay, good. I guess. All right. So, did it help at all? Did you start to maybe, you can kind of see it. What's the main event here? What's the main thing going on in the poem? Right. He's sitting. Imagine you're sitting in a pew at church, and she comes in, walking down the aisle, and he looks and he sees this louse, and he's like, "Oh Lord!" And all he can do is focus on this louse. That's all he can see. And he's watching it, and it's crawling, and then it hides itself. You can't see it again. And then boop, there it is on the very top. How does he feel about the louse?
He was angry at it.
Why was he angry at it?
I don't know, your voice sounded angry.
Okay. You're picking on the inflection. Okay, good. Do you...
One final note here about these dual enrollment students. They don't always need this type or level of differentiation. Sometimes it's something as small as delivering information in more than one way, but sometimes more guided instruction is needed. As these students have a different caliber of zone of proximal development, it's important for me to always consider what they need to be successful, while at the same time how I can push them further to develop into better students.